Everybody ready?
Yeah!
Okay. Well, first, thank you all for coming to this panel. Yeah. Thank you for coming to PRGE. We're excited to see all of you guys. And yeah, we're SEGA Saturn Shiro. I'm Saturn Dave. Who do we got here?
I'm Trinidad or Patrick.
I'm Nick, sometimes called Pandemonium.
We're huge SEGA Saturn fans, if you guys didn't guess. And yeah, we create content about SEGA Saturn and try to help folks get into the console. Anyway, thanks for coming out. Today we're actually talking about you guys, in a way. We're actually talking about the community. This whole presentation is really just about fans, just like you, who love this console and have decided to get into creating stuff for it, basically. Be it fan translations or homebrew, original homebrew games. And so really this is a celebration of the community, because that's what makes the Saturn so great. And it's really just eating it up, and it's like a snowball effect. So we are going to get right into it, talking about all the amazing fan translations that you guys can experience on the Saturn.
And there's quite a lot of them for sure.
It's really blown up in recent years. We've seen kind of a renaissance in the past 3 years alone for Saturn homebrew.
Am I too low? Oh, okay, well. So the story goes, Saturn's 30 years on now, almost, right? And everybody's used to hearing about how the Western library is kind of paltry, not that great. There's this amazing Japanese library on the Saturn, right? But a lot of it is kind of trapped behind, or has been trapped behind a language barrier, kind of a steep barrier to entry. But that's not the case anymore, because the fans have kind of taken it into their hands, the fans have kind of taken it upon themselves to bring us a bunch of fan translations. We're going to go right ahead and show you. So starting in about the early 2000s, 2001 to be specific, and I have a...
This was one of the first translation patches ever made for the Saturn, and it's been a while. It's been some
long time.
So like, back in the early 2000s, it was actually slim pickings. Like, there wasn't a lot of translations going on for the Saturn. Maybe it was like the difficulty figuring out how to patch a program for the Saturn. But essentially, Dreamcast had a ton of homebrew translations. A bunch of other consoles, just enjoyed a ton of translations. But Saturn kind of took a while to catch up, and all we had in those early years was stuff like this. Nimpen Manmaru from Simon Fang, Alex Kidd, and Cafe Alpha. Cafe Alpha has been an established individual in the Saturn scene who's still working on stuff like the Pseudo Saturn Kai projects and stuff like that. So this was kind of like one of the first. Okay?
Cute little platformer. You could play it and fight through the Japanese text if you can't read it, but now you can read it. So yeah, that's great.
So it's like a let's play too, especially with friends yelling at you that, "No, you gotta move, don't go on the edge."
You got, of course, the Shining Force series. We only got the first game localized in the West, and of course the story was kind of ham-fisted to try to work as one scenario, but we didn't get the whole story. So the Shining Force translation team, they took it upon themselves and released the first iteration in January of 04, all the way back in 04, and it's been receiving updates since then. What do you guys think of this?
I really like this series a lot. I never really played much Shining Force back in the day, but when I played this, I really enjoyed it. I think Knight and his team and people who work with Knight and Dragon did a lot of great work on the series, and I think the best part about it is that they did not only the second and third scenarios, but they redid the first one as well. So it's more of a continuous project. It's more there's more continuity. That's a lot better with that. If you start from the beginning, so definitely recommend if you want to get into the series. Definitely check out the fan translations of all 3 scenarios.
And unique to this project, I feel, is the fact that it's still going today. Like, they continue to iterate and continue to find better ways to optimize and enhance this translation. It's on like version 11 now or something. But essentially, you can go download the latest patch today and play through this amazing Japanese RPG, strategy RPG. It's absolutely amazing. One of the best games for Saturn. Who wants to take this one? Dragon Force 2 by Verve Fanworks in January of 2016.
Yeah.
So we jumped from 2004 all the way up to 2016.
So the first Dragon Force game did come out in the West. That was officially localized for us English-speaking folks. But we never got the sequel. And now we got it. So in 2016, things patched it. And this was kind of when the translations scene really started to really take off for real, because we had that gap between Shining Force getting patched in 2004 and this coming out in 2016.
Yeah.
It's a really good show for us. You can see there's a ton of sprites being loaded into the Saturn right now. You can have armies of hundreds fighting each other. It's a very fun game to play and really, really fun to watch and spectate too.
I want to emphasize that if there are any games that you see here on the screen today that you want to test out, we will have a booth in the vendor hall where we'll be demoing all the translations and we'll be demoing all the homebrew for you guys to test out. Come by, ask us any questions you want. It's a lot of fun to get into all of these games, especially if you slept on them back in the 90s.
Oh my.
Of course, in November of 2016, we got the ball rolling here. Junker HQ released their translation of Police Knots.
Man, Police Knots. I mean, I kind of like the game a little bit. Just,
yeah, you might like
just
it.
a tiny little bit of running the game a little bit, you know. Maybe a little bit, but I love this game. For those who don't know, the amazing Hideo Kojima worked on this. It's I guess a spiritual successor in a way to Snatcher. Basically, you play as Jonathan Ingram, and your wife gets murdered by space cyborgs or something like that. And basically, you have to solve them.
The wife's fine.
Yeah, sure. She's fine. Yeah, just pause right now. I'm looking at Amazon. But yeah, anyways, the thing is that it's a really fun game. It's a text-based adventure. A lot of shooting things. It supports the light gun as well, and the light gun and shovel mouse. So whatever flavor you want it, controller, mouse, shovel mouse. So controller, mouse, or the gun. You can do it, and it's a lot of fun.
Really good visual novel with light gun gameplay in it every now and then. It's a ton of fun.
Would you agree that the Saturn is like the definitive way?
Yeah, the definitive.
I'm biased, but yeah.
Definitely try it out. Hideo Kojima, it's a timeless classic, I think.
Alright, what do we got next?
We got Liquid Liver Story. Now, this is the game that really kicked off the avalanche of translations that we've seen.
The Renaissance kind of started here, more or less.
Yeah, like, so we had
one after the other.
We had a trickle, but now it's a steady flow of translations that are coming, multiple per year. Starting in January of 2019, right around before the pandemic, you had Liquid Liver Story, translated by the Stardust Crusaders, Aisha and Paul Met. Paul Met of Medusa Team, and I mean, they just did an amazing job of translating this really fun kind of. It's
got
like
very
action
unique
RPG.
dialogue. Yeah, it definitely plays like a Link to the Past, kind of like Magic Knight Rayearth, so to speak. A good marriage of 3D and 2D. We have that 3D overworld map that they put in the game, and some 3D elements even here on this little boss fight. The dialogue's really funny, all the characters are hilarious, and the people who translated this into English did a very good job at retaining kind of the characters of each of the characters that are in the game and how they are. Very fun. I would highly recommend trying this one out if you're into, action RPGs.
And they gave us a complete English manual as well. So
yeah, they download that. Weird name but fun game.
Highly recommend. And the music is great too. Next up, we've got, of course, this is a game that I literally refused to play until it was translated on the Saturn. Like, I had years to play this, but I waited, and I said, one day I'm going to play Grandia on my Saturn. And Trekkies Unite 118 brought it to us in December of 2020. So there were beta builds going around to the community before that, but 2020 was really the street date. And this is Grandia. This is the definitive version of
the Saturn version. Is it's safe to say that's from a graphic
standpoint. I mean, John Linneman from DF Retro, he agrees with us. He's like, this is the way you got to play the game, just because of what VDP2 is doing, And
this patch went gold sometime last year, if I remember correct. So everything should be good to go. There's no more typos here and there. It's all good.
It is.
And the best thing about that though is that if you don't like the dub dialogue, guess what? There's no dub in it, so you get the sub version of it. So
you do.
If you didn't like the PlayStation one, you're good to go.
It's cute, it's fun, the combat is great. I'd say it's one of the best JRPGs on the Saturn.
For sure.
Definitely play it. And it's not that long. Like, I feel like it's doable.
It's a sizable RPG.
Yeah.
Next up, we got, of course, a game that needs no
You gotta talk about Lunar.
Lunar, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Lunar, probably one of the most famous working designs games on Sega CD. Released in, I think, 93, 94. I can't remember off the top of my head, but one of the best original games came to the Saturn and then to the PlayStation, but sadly we got the PlayStation version but not the Saturn version because, of course, RPGs weren't really that focused on, and there's a lot of working designs issues that went on. But long story short,
no RPGs, right?
No RPGs. They're like no RPGs. None done.
Americans don't like RPGs.
No,
right?
Apparently you guys don't like RPGs, right? No RPGs. No, but anyways. This game was amazing by Mr. Conan, right?
Mr. Conan, that's right. February of 2021.
2021. It's a great patch. There's 2 ways to play. You can do it with an MPEG card, or you can do the regular non-MPEG card version of it, which looks almost just as good, if not better.
The cutscenes still look good without it.
Yeah. Trekkies Unite did a killer job on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely highly recommend playing this game if you really want the definitive version of Lunar Silver Star.
There's a feeling of retribution when you can play a Saturn game in English that you couldn't play before, but all the PlayStation nerds got it way back in the day. It's a very good feeling.
That chip on our shoulder that kind of brush off.
Yeah.
Next up, of course, we have Castlevania. This game arguably has there are some reasons to play this on the Saturn, right?
There are,
absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of exclusive areas, exclusive items. We actually, Peter Malik, one of our writers for the magazine, our writer on our website, and a great guy, wrote an article all about Castlevania Symphony of the Night on Saturn, the case for why you should play it. I mean, yeah, there's still some texture issues here and there, but there's a lot of great ways to play it now. There's not 1, not 2, but 3 different patches to play it. So it's like, you want translations with the MPEG card, you can. You just want the MPEG card, you can. You want just the fan translation in general and some changes like removing the map. I know you were a fan of it.
Yeah, so what Night of Dragon did for this patch, he converted all the text to English. He did not include the English dub, so if you're a fan of Die Monster, you don't belong in this world, it's not here. But for some people that's a good thing. The big perk here is that Night of Dragon's English patch also had a gameplay improvement. On the Saturn version, the regular vanilla Saturn Symphony of the Night, the map takes forever to load. It takes like a full 10 or 15 seconds. Night was able to make it load instantly, so you get it in English.
They removed it that point,
and you can play as Maria, right?
Yeah, you can play as Maria, that's the Saturn version there.
Awesome. I keep getting switched up who was over there.
This didn't necessarily need a patch, but it has it, and we can now understand the plot of this cutesy shmup. They kept the font and everything.
Absolutely. Nanash 1 in March 2021 brought us the translation of Cotton 2, so now we can understand the Tea Party and the candy.
Yeah, exactly.
The access of Willow candy.
Still, it's infinitely playable regardless of your language, but it's more enjoyable because of the context. You get to enjoy the story, and definitely a game that folks should experience on the Saturn. Excellent.
The plot line is very parallel to Kirby takes on the world to get strawberry shortcake. It's that kind of the plot line. So.
Yes, to get ready for Rainbow Pod coming out soon too, so that's kind of cool.
Again, with the Stardust Crusaders, Aisha and Paul Met, you're going to hear those names a lot here because they've just been incredibly prolific over the last few years, just pumping out JRPGs. Valhalla is kind of like a strategy RPG in the vein of, what would you, like Fire Emblem, kind of?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of them are Fire Emblem-esque that are on our list today. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of Fire Emblem love. I guess people like Fire Emblem, but I can't blame them. Yeah, it's very Fire Emblem-esque, like turn-based strategy, a lot of that story RPG sort of thing. It's a really fun game. I really enjoyed what I played of it. I really need to go play more of these games.
And you do get some creamy 3D graphics.
You do get creamy.
Say the line, Amanda.
Say the line.
Say it. Yeah, so you get the battles played out in 3D, kind of the same way with like Bach and Rotor, some of those other, even Shining Force 3, those games, where you're doing everything on the map and then the battles play out in 3D.
It's the whole Final Fantasy sprite to giant sword dude, and it's like, okay.
This is the impressive part though. The same month, May 2021, the same team brought us another strategy RPG, Vandal Hearts, which was is an excellent Konami game that a lot of folks should play, right?
Yeah, it's another great marriage of how the Saturn can mix 2D and 3D really well, especially for how the 5th gen look goes, right? And really crazy blood effects in the sprite work for sure. This one's a very fun RPG. If you're like not extremely into RPGs, but you want like an easy one to get into, this one's Vandal Hearts is a good one to get into for sure.
Absolutely.
And it looks really good on Saturn for sure.
And that was the same team, Stardust Crusaders and Paul Met, in May of 2021. July of 2021, we saw Sakura Wars from Noah's team. This is a team of folks who brought us this amazingly popular game on the Saturn in Japan, believe it or not. It was a game that they marketed the console based on, But here, it's been a bit of unsung. We got like one title on the
SEGA didn't think one anime girls and robots in the U.S. for whatever reason. They just don't think we like that.
No.
So, I don't know. Yeah. We're better now. We know that that's cool.
The great thing about Sakura Wars is you get so many different play genres. Like it's a visual novel.
Yeah, visual novel, RTS, and a dating sim in all one. So if you're into Fire Emblem Awakening and all the other Fire Emblems, this would be right up your alley, because it's the same. What is with all these games being like turn-based strategy, like Fire Emblem?
Right?
All these ones we're mentioning, I guess people really like Fire Emblem in the Saturn community, so I guess shouts out Crom and Lucy.
I mean, I guess it's just, these are the kind of games that they didn't think we were interested in.
They didn't think we wanted anime girls and giant robots, no.
No.
So it was a big system seller in Japan, and it's really great that we can now play it in English on Saturn.
And we also Sakura herself at our booth, if you want to be here.
We got Sakura and Shizuki if you want to go say hello.
Well, this next game is a complete change of genre. This is Bulk Slash. Now, Bulk Slash, I think, is one of the greatest examples of Saturn's graphical abilities. The way that it marries 2D and 3D together, because you've got like the main character is kind of like Sprite, but he's moving around as this 3D field. The Bulk Slash team in December of 2021 brought us this complete English localization with fan actors. And I literally mean like they got a hold of fans in the community and were just like, do you want to voice act for this game? And maybe they had one or two things to their credit, but you know, they were literally...
They held auditions. They narrowed down the people who auditioned, and there were some folks who didn't make the cut, so they picked the best voice actors and actresses and dubbed the game. So all the navigators that tell you where to go and tell you what direction the target is, you can hear it.
So it's completely in English, and I would argue that it's better. They did a better production than some of the games that were released back in the day, right?
Pat needs me to hit him with the fun fact.
All three of us do voices in the game. I think it's narrations at the end.
At the very end, yeah. I have like 3 lines in the credits or something.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we say "Watch out" during I think Rupee Root's actual credit. Yeah. So if you guys like us and want to hear more about stuff like this game, and of course you hear it's dubbed as well, which I think is really cool, and that's the best thing about that.
The team did a bang-up job. This is a massive undertaking for a translation patch, and it was, you know, the first of its kind in the Saturn scene. We hadn't seen one like this before. It was very impressive work from the team of, I don't know, 20 people who were involved in this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's next, Dave?
So the next game, I'm actually going to call out somebody in this room right here. A Murder of Crows over here with the blue hair. He and Shadow Mask brought us Death Mask on the Saturn. Now, Death Mask was originally a PC game called Angel Devoid. This is a cyberpunk point-and-click kind of adventure type game. It's amazing. They were able to rip all of the original English audio and data from the original PC game and hack it into the Saturn game. Because for some reason the Japanese did this thing where they localized a lot of US PC games in Japan, but then we would never get them on the US Saturn.
Like it was filmed in English, in America or wherever, and then it only came out in Japan in Japanese, and then we didn't get it, so...
Right?
Weird. I don't know whether... It came out in English on the PC, but I don't know.
But fans are rectifying that now.
Yep.
And it's actually a lot of fun. It's one of those games that you just have to experience. There's a lot of silly dialogue, but there's, you know, it's definitely got that cyberpunk aesthetic, and it borrows a lot from like Blade Runner.
We died so many times that lady, like, oh my gosh, when we started playing that and streaming it, we just kept dying over and over again.
The gameplay in Death Mask is kind of tough to figure out, but once you figure it out, you're in for a good time. Definitely an of-the-era experience for sure.
Here's another game that really started with A Murder of Crows. Back in like the early aughts, he translated all of the wrestlers' names for Fire Pro Wrestling, Fire Pro S, Six Men Scramble. He had translated all of the wrestlers' names so that you could understand the context of who the wrestlers were. And then, of course, Malenko kind of helped finish up the translation in January of 22, just last year, and brought us this game in its entirety to play in English. So if you're a wrestling fan, this is one of the best wrestling games out there, right, Kay? I mean...
Yeah, and what I didn't do I did the translation into, like, putting it into the game as it was, but the original translation guide was from a guy who was in the Fire Pro scene in the 90s called the Great Kagura.
Oh, okay, right. So, I mean, this goes way back. It does, actually, it really does go way back to the early days of translating on the Saturn.
They were, like, doing Fire Pro, like, Super Fire Pro Wrestling on the Super Nintendo. So they were in this huge scene in, like, 95.
But seriously, like, wrestling on Saturn, easily one of the best, or if not the best.
It's a 6-player game. You can get 6 sweaty people and have them all play at the same time.
We can get that going too. We got some multi-taps. We'll get some sweaty wrestling going on.
Swing by.
So next up we got the Stardust Crusaders again, and Ice Shop, who brought us what was a kind of a Super Nintendo game, Ogre Battle, The March of the Black Queen. They did get a version in Japan on the Saturn. Now we got it in the US with, of course, English dialogue and menus and everything like that, so you can completely play it. You guys want to say anything about this one?
I really liked Ogre Battle a lot. I played it in the Super Nintendo as a kid, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, this game sucks.
This gameplay is me not knowing what I'm doing, you know?
Exactly, but once you get to know it, it's really good. I really enjoyed the game a lot. I guess it's kind of like Dragon Force in a way. It's kind of it's almost like that. I don't know, maybe it might be confusing.
It's Ogre Battle.
It's a lot of fun.
It's Ogre Battle.
It is very
It's named off the best. It's named off the Queen song, so if you like Queen, definitely recommend playing this game.
What do we got next, Dave?
Next we got Malenko, who brought us in October of 22, Drift King. So this is a Genki racing game. This is the precursor to the Tokyo Extreme racing series on the Dreamcast and later the PlayStation 2 and everything. Great game, I highly recommend it. It was originally Drift King 97 in Japan, localized on the PlayStation as Tokyo Highway Battle, but now, of course, localized on the Saturn as well. This is an excellent, Tokyo Highway racer. You
if
find
any part of you likes Initial D, you have no reason not to try this out.
It's better than your actual Initial D game on the Saturn.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you got the Drift King there giving you tips.
No, that's a mechanic.
Oh, that's Bondo. Okay, Bondo is like the mechanic.
Don't disrespect the Drift King, Dave.
This is true. Okay. Okay, so next up, moving right along, we've got Kitchen 34, who gave us Phantasmagoria on the Saturn. So this, of course, was another PC game. They got it in Japan on the Saturn as like an 8-disc game. Is that right?
8 discs. It's a whopper of a game. And again, it's a game where everything was filmed in English originally, and then they translated everything to Japanese, released on Saturn in Japan, not in America, not in Europe. We don't need it. That's fine.
I do not recommend burning all 8 discs.
Don't do that. Do yourself a favor. But yeah, fun horror game, definitely a 90s era horror game. They did censor some of the really gruesome scenes from the PC version on the Saturn port, so just something to keep in mind if that's something that would bother you.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, of course, is we've got, again, the Stardust Crusaders. Aisha and Paul Met brought us Tactics Ogre. Let Us Cling Together. Now this is definitely more of like a Saturn PlayStation era game versus like Ogre Battle. But so this one has like that e-release kind of look to it. Like the graphics are amazing, the sprite work, isometric, turn-based strategy.
Yeah, another Fire Emblem-esque game.
So yeah, and
the sprite work in this one, it looks really, really nice, and it's great to be able to play it in English and be able to understand the plot and know what moves I'm using and such. So yeah, this is a great one to try out for sure.
And we had the Bulk Slash team, or now I guess the Stellar Assault SS team. Same folks that brought us that complete English localization for Bulk Slash have completely localized in English with voice actors Stellar Assault SS for the Saturn. This is a Star Fox type shooter.
Yeah, it's a very, very fun three-dimensional spaceship fighting game. I shouldn't call it a fighting game, it's not Street Fighter, but yeah, you love spaceships, it's really fun. And much like Bulk Slash, there are Japanese voice clips of the side characters telling you where to go, what your mission is, and now in this patch that's been dubbed into English with some of the same voice talent from the Bulk Slash translation that we showed you a few minutes ago. And another thing they did with this patch is not only did they translate everything, but they added mission stick support, which is a ton of fun in a spaceship game, obviously. So
they should have mentioned that they added for Bulk Slash 2, they added twin stick support.
They added twin stick support to Bulk Slash 2, so
yeah.
Going above the call of just translating it, they added in support for other peripherals that weren't on it before. So very well done. And this one's complete. It's out. You can play it. You can download the patch and put it on.
Like what fans were capable of with this, it just blows me away because the production value is so high. It sets such a high bar for all translations and localizations across all consoles. Like I haven't seen a localization project like this
on other consoles and stuff like that, and not this many either, especially in recent years. The Saturn translation team is seriously blown up. So.
Next, we have a very recent one that we just got in July, over the summer. Pliskin brought us Baroque. The gritty, dark, kind of like dungeon crawling, Angels and Demons kind of RPG collector. It's a crazy game. It did get ported to the Wii and the PlayStation 2, but they completely revamped the graphics and kind of made it light.
It's just not the same.
It's not the same game. It doesn't have that really gritty, dark Japanese kind of aesthetic that they wanted it back then. So this is the game that folks should play,
Really fun dungeon crawler, and it definitely has a vibe to it for sure.
Yeah, and I did want to get you out to also. We had Emerald Nova did a bridge version of it that did rough translations to be able to do the game initially. So I want to give a big shout out to him for giving us a playable version before this one was actually released about a year later.
And for those who don't know Emerald Nova, he is the one who holds the contest every year that inspires fans to do these games.
Yep,
he holds a contest with a cash prize to get to kind of incentivize folks to create original homebrew and do patches. So like this year, it's going to be insane. Judging is in what, end of December, and
I think it's end of February. Like I think the deadline is beginning of January, and then us judges have like through the end of February to judge them all. There's going to be a lot of homebrew submissions this year in that contest.
Just in September of 23, we got Dungeon Master Nexus. Shouts to Paul in the audience there, huge Dungeon Master Nexus fan. And yeah, for folks who've been waiting for kind of like a King's Field game in English on the Saturn, it's in that vein. You're going through dungeons, you got the, say it, creamy what?
Creamy 3D graphics. It does have it. Yeah, it definitely has creamy 3D graphics for sure.
Yeah, so if you like Soulsborne's games and just dying constantly and throwing your controller against the wall, I don't know if that's that type of game, but
if you want nothing more than to start the game over constantly and get good at it, this is the one for you for sure. Good dungeon crawler.
Kind of like the terminology these kids these days use, right?
Get good or something?
Get good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is an old school, it's pretty hardcore. But there are like difficulty settings in it, I think, too.
Okay, so we can make it, put it on baby mode.
Put it on monkey mode.
Yeah, that'd be the one for me for sure.
I'm definitely playing.
Most recently, we got J.B. Harold Blue Chicago Blues, which is, it is kind of like this gritty Chicago crime-solving, you know, it's the precursor to the Hotel Dusk games, actually. River Hill Soft, they created this series of games in the J.B. Harold universe. This game actually got an English port on the Laser Active, but unless you have like $500 to throw.
500? You mean like $4,000, dude? Yeah. Laser Active alone's like in the grand.
Oh, I was just talking for the game.
Oh yeah, no, that's even more. I think that's in the thousands too.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Well, Saturn's a little cheaper. It's weird saying the Saturn is cheaper than anything, but yeah.
Yeah, if you want to play a game with Alan from Home Improvement being a detective, I think this is the game for you.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, Dungeon Master was Christoph F. And this was Arjack. Our fan in the community named Arjack gave us this patch. Real quick, we're just going to show you some stuff that's up and coming.
Yeah, these are all in progress right now.
Yet to be released, but very much being worked on. Probably will be done shortly. Since this contest deadline is soon, you know, we're going to see Bomberman fight. It was always playable, of course, but now you get it in English and.
You can actually try the translation patch, the beta translation on our Patreon if you back us at the $3 level, so I didn't want to plug that, but just in case you guys want to try it out.
Anybody's familiar with Sam, the Southern Sega gentleman? He is he's a YouTuber, he's also working on Gun Griffin too, bringing us this, bringing us
the sequel we never got in the States or in Europe, so.
Yeah. He did it right.
And I mean, he raves and goes on and on about the context of the story and stuff like that. That's lost on you if you just play. You know, yes, it's playable, but you don't. A lot is lost on you because there's like quite a story here. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely check this video on Gun Griffin too if you guys have a chance. It's really great.
We expect Sakura Wars 2 right around the corner here. We're really excited for it. They released a kind of a sneak peek demo last year.
They did, yeah. It's much of the same team that translated the first Sakura Wars a couple of years ago. So they're coming back. They're doing number 2, baby. The squeakles.
I'm super excited, man. I'm gonna get my Weeb on. Heck yeah.
And yes, that's Noah's team and Trekkies Unite 118.
Yep.
Shadows of the Tusk. Here's an amazing game that was really locked to Japan because it was NetLink. You had to have the X-Band actually in Japan. Well, they brought the game back in English and they also brought the NetLink because now X-Band is playable online over a tunnel. You get a Dream High, you get a NetLink card, you plop it in, you're playing other people online. This is Pat and I, we played this game, it's amazing, it's so much fun.
Right there live, yeah, you play, get the NetLink, play some NetLink stuff going on.
Kind of like a grid-based chess, it's very cerebral. You could get, you could start out not knowing what you're doing and get really good, you know, over a couple days, but I mean, it's a lot of fun and there's so much complexity to this game.
Exactly, it's a lot of fun.
There's actually a whole bunch of NetLink playable games now that folks should check out. That's another that's another presentation. And then of course Bakken Rotor.
This one's pretty close to being done. Don't be sad if you're playing this game. It's got a very dark plot, so make sure you're happy before you get into it.
The world sucks, your mom's dead, your dad's dead, everyone you know is dead,
everybody's dead, the world's
gone
gone heck. It's just,
Yeah, so it's
got a very dark plot line, but very fun game, yes.
It's like Final Fantasy VII storyline on crack.
Cyberpunk, RPG, would you say? Like,
yeah, very cyberpunk-esque.
Steampunk-ish, I guess.
And they have steam in their swords,
sort of
like do the
it's kind of a
steam thing.
mishmash between steampunk and cyberpunk.
And then,
really
of course,
good.
the fighting sequences had creamy 3D graphics like you're about to see here.
Yeah.
Night of Dragon has got much of this wrapped up. He's finishing up putting the final touches on the patch now. And a lot of the text that he's using came from a GameFAQs translation from like eons ago. I think that might have been from late 90s, early aughts. So a lot of the translation work from that is now being patched into the game, so you don't have to, print out a 200-page GameFAQs translation and thumb through it when you're trying to figure out what menu.
I mean, you can if you want. We're not going to judge you.
It's fun. It's a good hobby, but yeah, you don't have to do that anymore.
Well, next up we're going to talk about the folks who are creating original games on the Saturn.
So from scratch, making their own games, and a lot of it's like 3D stuff on Saturn from scratch.
If any of you guys have heard, it's not exactly
an
an easy or trivial matter to program for the Saturn, right? But I want to shout out Johannes Fetz, who created Joe Engine. This is a modern tool that any one of you in this audience can download for free and start messing around with coding for Saturn. If you have a little bit of C knowledge, that helps. But I mean, I've seen folks go from 0 to creating games with Joe Engine. You don't need to buy an old development kit. You don't have to spend any money. In fact, just download the tools and start messing around with them. We have some homebrew developers in this room with us that we're going to talk about.
So we'll get to them.
We're a prominent member of the community, and one that has inspired a lot of others after him is XL2. XL2 started out in 2019 with the Z-Stream. You guys, it was like
Z-Stream or whatever.
It was an engine called Z-Stream, or Sonic Z-Stream, in an attempt to kind of bring back what we saw at E3 96 of Sonic X-Stream. But based on that engine, we got Hellslave. You guys want to talk about Hellslave?
Yeah, so this is just crazy that it exists. There's a lot of good reflections going on in the graphics. The draw distance is incredible. It has level of detail draw distance. We have never really seen a first-person shooter like this on the Saturn. What's especially crazy is that it's capable of going up to not only two-way split screen, but four-way split screen. None of the commercially released Saturn first-person shooters like Duke Nukem and Quake could do any kind of split screen at all. So the fact that he got 4 running is really impressive, on top of the graphics just being top-notch and the controls really.
And Netlink is actually in the cards too for that he's looking into as well. And
he's thinking about getting that going. So.
And you can definitely tell that it's Lobotomy Soft inspired. Very much, admittedly, Lobotomy Soft inspired. He then brought us Unreal, basically.
Yeah, he ported Unreal, the first 2 levels of the game Unreal, to the SEGA Saturn. Yeah, something that I don't think anyone even considered being a possibility. Yeah, he made it happen. So using the engine that he made Hellslave out of, he ported Unreal. So
it's a lot of fun too.
Get a look at those the lighting effects on the bullets coming out of that gun, and then in a little bit in the footage you'll see the main character go outside. Where the second video display processor on the Saturn is really being put to use with the sky graphics extending into the horizon. There are multiple layers of sky just stretching in that. PlayStation can't do that. PS1 can't do that. Saturn can, so it looks really good.
Saturn does what PlayStation don't.
Then we had somebody kind of just come out of the woodwork. He's sitting right here.
There he is, Shades, baby.
He gave us this cute, adorable little kiddie platformer where you're bouncing around on these islands and you're pushing this little ball of yarn to the end goal. This game continues to see improvements. It continues to see enhancements with the graphics, the sound, the gameplay design. He's gone back and just revamped the gameplay design. Getting feedback from the community, what works, what doesn't work, what makes it a better play experience. And we had the Retrobit guys test it last year with their new 3D control
on the Pluto as well.
And even they were blown away. They were like, wait, a fan made this? Like, what the hell, you know? So, I mean, it's insane what the fans are capable of, and we owe a great debt to Seven Shades for bringing us another fun game on the Saturn. It's just, the ball's just getting rolling. Right?
Yeah,
the yarn ball is getting rolling.
I also want to know it was the first game I was able to play properly on the Mister, so thank you very much for making that so good.
Damage X, of course, is another individual in the community who's giving us.
He's making video games, yes. This one is it's a small game. Think like a mini game you'd unlock in WarioWare. That's like Fly versus Fly. And he also made Shmup Salad, where you fight food with a variety of eating utensils that you can level up. It's fun.
It's a lot. It's really fun. Trust me.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Yeah. We also got we got Emerald Nova. We mentioned before. This is kind of like the patriarch in a way of like the.
He's kind of the godfather of the homebrew scene right now. Yeah, he's really enabled a lot of the growth that's happened in recent years with his homebrew contest. This is just some demos that Emerald Nova has made.
Proof of concept of what the Saturn 3D is capable. You know, he kind of put his money where his mouth is. You know, every year he puts up a cash prize, and we really encourage it. He runs a website that has a repository for all this stuff.
SEGA Extreme is the website. Yes. No E at the beginning of Extreme, just SEGA, the letter X, Extreme.
Oh, this is Collapsimus?
He made this in 24 hours as a joke. Yeah, you're fighting Christmas-themed enemies in this game.
It's actually really tough, actually.
But yeah, he did this in, 24 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun. And definitely kudos and shouts to Emerald Nova. We've got, of course, Irville Soft with Sickle. And also Sardist, he did
Sardist, and he also did the Chip 8 emulator, which you'll see in a bit. Herbalsoft's made a lot of mainly 2D heavy games on Saturn. This is like a cute little top-down shooter that he made a few years ago. And the Chip 8 emulator, it's a Chip 8 emulator. There's a bunch of games that you loaded up on it, and yeah, you can play Chip 8 games on your Saturn if that's something you've ever wanted to do. He made it so that you can put your own Chip 8 games on it if you use the Windows software that comes with the patch, or with the game rather, and then just make your own ROM with your own Chip 8 games that you downloaded and throw them on. And so that's kind of neat.
Sardist is like a Mario Paint kind of.
Yeah, Sardist is just like a paint game. That's pretty much all it is. So yeah, and that's Sardist.
Yep. Next we have Fran Matsuzaka. Last year brought us Bridget Bishop.
Yeah. Bridget. Really fun Resident Evil-like game. It's basically an explorer game. You solve puzzles. You turn your frog into a toilet. You turn him into different things, plants and stuff. It's a lot of fun. The game is really cutesy. I think my favorite feature of it is that it's both in English, French, and Spanish. So you get all the games in the language, and you can watch me stream and not understand it. But I believe it's a lot of fun.
It was inspired by Jack in the Dark, which was like an early demo for Jack is Back, or Alone in the Dark 2. So yeah, it's a great little game that folks should type.
You can lose an afternoon playing the whole thing. It's a lot of fun.
It's very cute. Zygo by Jay Beretta.
Yeah, this is Jay Beretta's first game he's ever made. He's learning C, and in learning C, he's trying to make Saturn games. So he made this this neat little 2D platformer. You get power-ups later on in the game that you can use in early levels to get things you couldn't get otherwise, turning into animals and climbing up walls and such. And then at some point, Jay Beretta decided to make Zygo a 3D game, which you'll see here in a few seconds. You can tell that the 3D engine that Jay Beretta is working on is still in progress, but yeah, he's transforming his creation into a realized 3D experience, which is kind of neat. And he's making it all from scratch while learning how to program in C. A nice effort here.
Absolutely. Next up, we've got Pona. Pona has been also a member of the Saturn coding community for
he's been around for a bit, yeah.
And started with the Pony game. It was called Pony Game.
I think it was just called Pony Game.
The focus of this was really on the physics engine, because there's a lot of moon jumping, moon bouncing, and sliding going on. So it really, once you pick it up and play it, and you can play it at our booth if you want to check it out. It's really just about that feeling that you get platforming and I don't know, the pony character is kind of secondary.
Once you master the physics of this game, it kind of feels like you're playing Tony Hawk in a sense.
It's Tony Hawk, really.
Yeah, totally. There you go.
But yeah, you got this big giant playground to kind of just run around, jump through hoops, and test out the physics engine. It's pretty cool.
What do we got next?
Next up, we got Gabriel Sansegolo, who
he's making a lot of visual novels. He's made about 3 for the Saturn right now. And in this game we're seeing here, Red Moon, is actually the first homebrew game to get a physical release.
That's right.
So you can buy a copy of the game off of the website that he's selling it on right now. So he published a visual novel for Saturn.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. A console doesn't have any in the U.S., so it's nice to get some visual novels where we couldn't get any in the past.
Right. Absolutely. Next we've got Slinga, who brought us. Slinga's brought us so many great 12-player multiplayer games.
And when we say 12-player, just like the wrestling game, we're talking 12 sweaty people crowding around the same TV screen, the same Saturn, all with their own controller. Yeah. So this is a Asteroids clone where you can have 12 people playing their own shit in the Asteroid screen. And he did the same thing with Balloonatics. This is totally not Balloon Fight, my goodness.
No, Nintendo, don't look at the screen.
But much like Disasteroids, you can have 12 people in a 12-player Balloon Fight arena, which is really neat. I mean, a Balloonatics arena.
And he gave us Flicky's Block, which is
Flicky's Block, a little Flappy Bird clone.
12-player Flappy Bird clone.
And we'll try to get these all going so that way you guys can be able to play it and try the 12-player for yourself.
We want to try that out at some point today.
One of the greatest things they gave us, though, was the save game copier.
This is not impressive looking, but it is a very useful utility.
I mean, how many folks have lost their Saturn saves due to a bad battery, right? Or a card maybe that got corrupted or something. With this, you can literally back up and dump all of your saves onto a PC, onto an SD card. There are multiple ways that you can use Save Game Copier. It's been an invaluable tool for the Saturn community. We also have Super Ray, who brought us
Sky Blaster. Yeah, this game's great. They've been making progress on it every year in every homebrew contest year. The music on it's great. Random did the soundtrack for Sky Blaster, and all the tracks are absolute slappers. Game's really fun. It's compatible with the 3D control pad, so it's got analog control and a shmup. Yeah, I know they're still working on builds of it now.
We've also got Team Starlane, who brought us Blue Skies, which is kind of a Pilot Wings clone.
Yep.
It's very, it's a lot of fun to control the plane. It varies 2D sprite work and 3D graphics.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's a lot of fun. It's still a work in progress. I think they're working on building it out and fleshing it out with more levels. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and they're a talented team. Definitely one to look at.
For sure.
You guys can test it out at our booth. And of course, BBT has been a long time community member.
Ported Wolfenstein to the Saturn.
Not just Wolfenstein though, right?
Not just Wolfenstein. There's like 12 Wolfenstein mods that he included, so if you wanted to play Burgerstein, where you fight burgers instead of Nazis. Yeah, somewhere NSFW, don't speak.
Oh yeah, there are definitely some NSFW.
Actually, we'll reach out to him. Maybe we can get him.
We should get him to do that. We should get him to put that one in, yeah.
We'll work on that, thank you.
I think we show Burgerstein here, right?
Yeah, Burgerstein's, yeah, there you go.
Burgerstein. So that's a lot of fun and easy to download and play on the Saturn now. And we also have Voxel from the UK brought us the definitive, I guess, Sonic Extreme Vision with the fisheye lens. Was able to rip out all the assets out of the dump that was found of that original PC build that was shown at E396. Yeah, got all the assets and was able to port them to the Saturn. And so this, you can actually play what we saw at E396. Now, whether it's I don't know, a good game or not, you know,
that's not pretty big. His goal was to make this accurate to what we saw at E3, and it definitely accomplishes that, motion sickness and all.
Yeah, the weasel fight is actually a lot of fun.
It is, yeah, the weasel fight is very well done.
Yep.
It's difficult though, so yeah, get good at that one.
But I mean, it's precisely what we saw at the at E3.
Yeah.
So
you did a very good job, making it look and play exactly like how we thought it would by seeing what we saw at E3. So yeah, very well done.
And then I just want to shout out Night of Dragon, who we mentioned for several of the translation patches. He's also made it really easy for folks to. Patching Saturn games used to be a convoluted process. Now it's like one single tool, drag and drop. Patch your game.
Not to mention
you buy a game on the vendor floor out there, you pop it into your CD-ROM drive, you download the patch from, we have all the patches, all of the stuff, homebrew and patches, linked on our website, SEGA-SaturnShiro.com. You can download it and enjoy any of these patches. Relatively easy because of this tool, so shouts to Night of Dragon for that. And then just really quickly, we want to talk about ways that you guys can enjoy these patches. We'll make this quick. So you are going to have to boot them some way, so you can either use like a soft mod card, right? Pseudo Saturn card, or you can
Flash National Replay.
Yeah, it's burning CDRs.
That's the cheapest solution for sure.
That's the cheapest. Then you got the mod chips. Phantom mod chips are relatively cheap and they're very easy to install with just a ribbon cable. So if you want to go that route, you can do that and still play the CDRs. Or we've got just a ton of
There's a lot of
optical drive
for Saturn.
So like if you go, Sega Steve, our friend, he's selling like laser burned out, Saturns for like $20, no laser, right? So just stick an ODE in there, you got a $20 Saturn with an ODE.
Somebody actually bought like all those,
right?
Literally just when I get left. So.
But seriously, for folks who say Saturn's an expensive console, you can get an old dead Saturn, with the lasers burned out, put an ODE in it, and you just resurrected it, and you can have like the entire library playable. So you got Fenrir, you got Mode, and then you got Phoebe or Rhea.
It works like an EverDrive. You put all the games in an SD card, pop it in, and you're good.
It just replaces your CD-ROM drive. And then, of course, if you want to spend the big money, there is a flash cart, basically. It's called the Satiator. It's a removable optical drive emulator that goes into the VCD card slot on the back of the Saturn. No mods, just plug it in, have the SD card with the entire library on there.
It's the easiest solution.
And it is pricey. It's about $200, but I mean, for conventions like this, that's what we use.
Yeah, we actually have a booth if you guys want to look at it.
Yeah. We're using it on the Pluto prototype that Adam Korlick is demoing at our booth. So if you guys want to come check out the Pluto as well, awesome little prototype. Well, not little, it's pretty big. Awesome
it's pretty lengthy.
Yeah. So I think we're running up on time, I think.
Yeah. We might have like maybe a few minutes for questions, I guess, if anyone's got any they wanted to ask while we're here. Yeah.
What booth are you guys at?
460.
460 in the vendor hall, yeah. Anybody else? Up front?
So, not a question, but I can answer why a lot of games release in English in Japan.
Yeah.
Basically, a lot of Japanese folks think that English is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And, for example, most Resident Evil games and No More Heroes all came out in English in Japan, with like Japanese text and everything, because they were just like, we wanted to feel American, we wanted to feel cool.
Right.
So that's a lot of the reason why that is.
Cool. Makes perfect sense.
Over there?
Question for Pandemonium.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
I just have a question, because you make these really elaborate, long, with great analysis videos, like the fiscal year 1997, 6-1 was amazing.
Thank you.
How long does it take you end to end when you actually begin your research to actually publishing your video on YouTube?
It varies and completely depends on what's going on in my real life, either with my job. My job takes up a lot of my time. If I were to have like unlimited free time, take the Virtua Racing video, for example, from research to gameplay to getting interviews to editing and getting the video out there. If I had unlimited free time, I could do a project like that in less than a month.
Wow.
But what I've calculated is that per minute of video probably takes about an hour or more if you combine all the writing and research. So if you were to do a really, really bad formula and wanted to figure out how many hours it would be the amount of minutes in a video. That can also vary. Some things might take longer than others.
And he works on stuff that like he tells us about, and it's like, oh, that was like 2 years ago, dude.
And he does the podcast with us, right? And
so there's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot.
Thank you for the kind words, by the way. I really appreciate it.
Over here?
Some of these games that came out on PlayStation, and if you'd already played them on PlayStation, would you recommend replaying any of them on Saturn?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, definitely like Grandia or Castlevania Symphony of the Night. There are reasons to play them and experience them on the Saturn. Sometimes there are enhancements. Sometimes they were originally made for the Saturn, and then they were ported to PlayStation. Of course, they both have their strengths in terms of graphics and what they do. And like I said, John Linneman on the cast recently said, play Grandia on the Saturn. It's definitive, So yeah, definitely. Are there any other examples of games that you would? Policenauts.
Policenauts, yes, definitely Policenauts. Castlevania, there's actually an article that they wrote about why you should play it on their website.
Yeah.
Luminar, there's a lot of different examples, but there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
We can talk to you about the booth.
Maybe not all of them, but definitely there are some reasons, If you're a diehard Saturn fan, you're going to want to do that.
Exactly.
Right?
So a question over here.
Yep.
Him right there, the orange dude. You got an orange?
We'll get you next.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I was wondering, is there any Japanese-only Saturn games that you really wish would get a fan translation that haven't been translated yet?
Easy one. 04 Type R doozy. Dame Sim Racer. Absolutely want that one. 100%. If somebody does that in the audience, much love.
I really want, no joke, Omakase Sabers. I really want a patch of Omakase Sabers.
Yeah.
The Devil Summoner would be really cool to have a patch of. Yeah, that would be great. And of course, above all, Death Crimson. Someone's got to patch Death Crimson in English.
Go
I would love to
ahead.
see Fantastab and the story of the Island of Seven Winds, Nanatsukaze no Shima Monogatari.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful hand-drawn, like the sprites are huge, and they're all hand-drawn, and it's just a beautiful, gorgeous game from start to finish, and it's just so, the language barrier is so steep, but it's all voiced in Japanese. Just to have subtitles for that would be amazing. I know that it's being worked on in Spanish. I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that somebody will take that passion for it and bring it over into English. But yeah, no, there are many more. But any other
I
questions?
think the one more right there, I think, from that dude.
If you Pandemonium, if you manage to get to the Panzer Dragoon Saga video, how long do you think of a video that'll be?
Oh, you know,
5 hours.
I'll probably be well into my 80s. I'll sound like an American David Attenborough. Yeah, the video, I don't know, 24 hours, maybe conservative estimate, right?
I honestly actually edited and talking it like halfway through it too, so.
No joke, I envision that video being split into 4 parts for each disc. But I don't know how long it will wind up being. It would all depend on what I would get and how many developers have died by then.
He's at Sega Rally right now, if that's any indication.
I think.
So why do so many Saturn translators and homebrew artists hate Christmas?
Great question.
Because they have to crunch to get their games ready for the competition, and they're probably working on that and spending with their family.
Is there a question over here?
I think there's
Streamcast.
Hi, I just have one for Pandemonium. So you're working your way through, the Saturn library. How do you decide, how long this episode, should be?
Just as long as it needs to be. In the early era of my videos, I really did not want them to be longer than 10 minutes. I have, of course, blasted that expectation out of the water.
A little bit.
But yeah, it really just depends on the game. How much can I get for a certain game? How many interviews can I get? How much research can I get? Do I need to have stuff translated? It really depends on how much research content I have. I write the script without any time goal in mind and just put everything I want on there until it's done and go from there. So yeah, that's
You
about
and
it.
then you, so right over there.
I know there is a fan patch for the PlayStation version of Bomberman Wars.
Oh, Bomberman Wars.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, the PlayStation version has a patch. Has anything been thrown out about the patching the Saturn version?
I think I talked to Malenko about that. He might have wanted to do that.
It's possible.
But again, he's working on a bunch of other projects. But I think a lot of people have been talking about that one as well.
What folks do is they tend to probe a game and see how tentatively how difficult it would be to do it. And if it's not a monumental work, because every game has its eccentricities about how it stores text.
It's not just the amount of text, but how you can actually get the text injected in.
Like Bakken is a real uphill battle. He said it's been a pain in the ass, basically. So, but essentially, having a PlayStation translation already done does make it easier. They can steal that in data, and often that has happened. Like with Grandia, I know they took the translation from the PlayStation version. Over there.
So I know the developer said they don't have any intention of doing any more on that, but how about that Metal Gear tech demo that just dropped? What do you guys think?
Oh man,
it is real.
Yeah, that is real. We get confirmation.
Yeah, we just got confirmation from XL2 that it is legit. Some guy just, who was it, Frogbowl? Was just working in secret, and it was just made a Metal Gear Solid, the initial stage tech demo, just to prove that it could be done,
Like egg on my face, I flat out thought it was fake. Straight up.
We see a lot of those videos.
He's using XL2's engine, then XL2 got in touch with him. He gave XL2 the ISO of the game, and he's like, oh yeah, it's totally real, it's really good. I'm like, oh, okay.
And he's I'm really impressed at how much he got in there.
For real.
Yeah.
I have one. Do we know, is the Princess Crown translation
Yes and no. Okay. I personally know the guy who's translating the text. He's got a lot going on in his real life, which that's an obstacle that anyone who does this hobby runs into. From what I understand, it's about 70 to 80% done. The issue is, he can translate all the text. There are certain types of text and certain types of menus that they're having trouble getting coded into the game right now. So once the guy who's doing the text translations is able to, A, have free time, and B, get in touch with the programmer who does, then hopefully they can get it done. I know he's committed to wanting to get it done at some point. He's definitely still thinking about it and definitely still cares about it, but I mean, his family and his real life stuff takes priority, so that's just the way it is.
Believe it or
that's
not,
how it goes.
That is the game that we get asked about the most.
Yeah, every quiz thing, every like questions like
when's Princess Crown?
Alright, we gotta wrap things up, so for the next panel, get up here. So thank you guys for joining us.
Questions 460. We'll answer any questions.
Thank you so much for choosing us and for watching us. We really appreciate it.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and to the right are a few more videos from the Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2023. Thanks for watching.